with London's first 2021 female mayoral candidate, the one and only Miss Farah London. We're so happy to have her here, folks. If you've not met Farah, we are delighted to bring news of Farah's passionate ascent to take London in the direction where it needs to go, where it's always needed to go. We're going to discover what makes her tick a little bit and why she's so passionate about making sure that London is back on its feet again in the way it deserves to be. And so I'm really glad everybody's here. Please make sure that if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. We're live on LinkedIn and Facebook right now with the one and only Miss Farah London.
Hello, Prash.
Hello, Farah. For those out there who may have not come to know about you, they're going to know very quickly from your accent. You tell us a little bit, Farah. You've obviously spent a lot of years in London, and your background. A little bit about a glimpse of you.
Of course. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. I am a born and bred Londoner. I was born in Croydon, so I'm a Croydon girl at heart. And I have had a great life so far, I would say, but I'm a businesswoman. I also have traveled the world internationally, which has given me more of a rounded experience with international commerce and business. I actually started my career at City of London as a broker for Lloyd's of London, interesting enough. And then from there, I went on to becoming an underwriter and learning more into the insurance world of reinsurance. My disciplines actually used to be terrorism, kidnap and ransom, piracy, and then liability. So a good overall rounded experience. And now I'm running to be the first female mayor of London and the next female mayor.
Incredible. I mean, a lot of people will say it's high time. It's long overdue that London deserves and that London gets a female mayor. I mean, it hasn't been the case. What do you think has been the obstacles for somebody as ambitious and as capable as you are to have ascended to that position? What's held the capital back when it comes to having a female mayor?
I would like to hope that it isn't gender bias. I would like to hope it's not that. But I think the problem is, for far too long, we've had two political parties, the Reds and the Blues, who dominate the spectrum, and they haven't put forward a woman. And we have had independent candidates before, but again, they have been male. So I think at this point, people are fed up of politics. They're fed up of politicians. And now there's been an awakening, and people are now open to an independent mayor. Now, yes, our country is governed by politics, but it doesn't mean our city should be governed by politics. Now, if you have a Labour mayor and a Conservative government, we're seeing what's happening. All they do is knock heads and argue with each other, throwing stones at each other. But if you also get a Conservative mayor and have Conservative government, he's going to be dictated to by the government and not actually represent the people. So the mayor of London should always be independent. They shouldn't be a politician. They should not be representing a political party. They should be there representing the people of London. And that's why I'm standing, to represent the people of London so they have a voice.
Now, I love that passion about you, and, being a Londoner yourself, having lived in London, it gives you that perspective that other candidates perhaps don't have. And let me just ask you this right here. What are the big couple of things that you've noticed, the big changes that you've noticed growing up in the capital and seeing it evolve to where it is today? Good or bad?
I would say definitely, if I compare to when I was growing up, I really feel sorry for the youth. We have let them down. There's not opportunities for them anymore like they used to be. There's not places of outlet, where they can go and just let off and speak to people. So I really feel crime has escalated. I always remember police, wherever you were, there was a police station. You don't see that anymore. You don't see the police presence anymore. You don't see that respect between community and police anymore. Now there's a divide. So we have definitely gone wrong somewhere. And I want to come in and reset that. My policies will be community-led policies, because it is all about the community, and
Right.
we need to unite the policing community together again.
We need to unite. I think, and let's touch on that theme of unity. London has become fragmented, socially, demographically, culturally, you can say religiously, on different grounds. What would you say is the need of the hour that can help to bring that unity? What is that unifying factor that can bring Londoners together?
Pride. We have lost our pride. Now, this is quite an interesting term, and we've used it already a few times, Londoner. What does a Londoner mean? I've talked to so many people, and they've lived here for, let's say, 20 plus years or even 15 plus years. And I say, oh, so where are you from? And they're like, oh, I'm from Nigeria, or I'm from Brazil. I said, oh, you're a Londoner. And they laugh. No, you can't call me that. I'm like, why? I said, because I wasn't born here. I said, why does that not make you a Londoner? They look at me puzzled. They say, really? Can I be a Londoner? I said, if you work or live in London, you're invested in our city. That makes you a Londoner. And they smile, they light up with pride, because no one's saying that. No one's bringing that conversation. Let's unite people together, that we are all Londoners. We all are invested in this city. So let's bring back London together. And that's the problem. No one's having these conversations. People are not feeling they're part of this community because we're alienating them. We need to change that.
And do you feel, I think staying on the subject of alienation, do you feel that part of the fault lies with the mainstream political parties? Is it because they are, as you say, following their own rhetoric? They're saying things that people really want to hear, but they're actually doing stuff that the party whip is telling them. Do you think that that's playing into some of this? Is that causing some of the disenfranchisement and the ignorance and the apathy that Londoners are feeling to the mainstream political parties?
Absolutely. It's a lip service. That's what they do. They represent lip service. They're not actually engaged with the communities. They don't understand the community problems. I have actually gone to the grassroots. I've been volunteering in the communities for over 20 years. So I'm at the grassroots. I'm with the people. I understand the problems. And to fix London, we need to introduce simple policies, community-led policies. But no one's done that before, because they're a politician representing a political party, and their interest isn't the people of London. It isn't about going forward. It isn't about making lives better. It's about the political agenda.
And that's where things start to fall down on a slippery slope, because, it's suddenly, and look, we've had experience of this. And let me just say, audiences, for those of you who are tuned in, I was so touched that Farah came to my town, my hometown, Harrow on the Hill, the famous town of probably the most famous, if not one of the most famous schools in the world, famous Harrow School, one of the most famous boarding schools on the planet. Winston Churchill, Mahatma Gandhi, so many of the greats, Roger Bannister, grew up in this or studied in Harrow on the Hill. And you came to us because we've got a campaign, and obviously you've been helping myself. I'm one of the leaders of the Free Harrow campaign, that hot topic that London is lit up with at the moment. LTNs, it's a three-letter dirty word, low traffic neighborhoods, safer cycle lanes, and using those LTNs, those roadblocks, to seemingly imprison people in their own roads, their own streets. I know you felt that pain. You took your time out to come and see us. I know you've been to other boroughs. You've been here on the front line with us. What message do you want to say to those local residents who are feeling isolated, who are feeling trapped by these political parties, who are using them as pawns and shuttlecocks to go back and forth, who are using these agendas where Labour are saying, well, the Conservative guys put it in. It was Grant Shapps who said we want low traffic neighbourhoods in. It's his fault. Blame him. Then you've got Sadiq, who's Labour, saying, well, no, we've got to do this. We've got to make it better. You've got TfL, who've got their own hidden agenda, perhaps some people would say. What would you say to people who are just lost and frustrated with all that?
I would say the problem lies when you have a mayor that is more interested in themselves than the actual people. And he's let go of control, and he proudly says he's given most of the control to the councils. And now what we're left with is mafia-style councils that don't care about the people. They're not representing the people, they're representing themselves. They seem to forget their role in the community. Their role is there to serve the residents, the local community. They are no longer doing that. And what I plan to do as the next mayor is take back control. And I will also introduce an appeal department. So any local resident or even developer planning permissions, they feel that the council has done wrong by them, they can come to City Hall and flag it up so we can investigate. I will not allow any more corruption going on in the councils. It has to stop.
Good. I mean, that's powerful words, and I know that you'll have a plan. You know, I guess one of the unique factors that you have is you have a commercial background. You have so much rich business experience, and of course, people experience. It's one thing saying that we don't want corruption. It's another thing actually implementing it. Do you have some ambitious plans that you feel that can be practically implemented to slowly introduce the cleanup of that corruption, to introduce those avenues, like you say, an appeals process, to allow the voices of local residents in different boroughs to be heard by City Hall, not fall at the deaf ears of their local councils, as is happening right here in Harrow?
That's why I'm making an appeals department in City Hall, so we can actually hold accountable those individuals that are misbehaving within their councils. And also, I want to introduce reforms where we're seeing more of the community represented within the councils, because at the moment we do not have that. We have typical, council members, councillors who are political parties, but we're not having an actual representative on that board from the community, and that's what we need to see.
Farah, why is London special?
London.
What's London's significance? Not just to you, you've given a little bit of an insight, but why London in the world?
London is the greatest city. It really is. It's such an incredible place. It's got hundreds of years of history. It's seen so many triumphs, but it's not at its full potential. It has been let down. It could be so much greater. And I really want to open those barriers, get rid of those walls and barriers. Let's open London up. Let's bring opportunities for the people of London. I want to bring investment back into our city again. We've obviously, been through a Brexit, and now we're going through COVID. We need to make sure we bring investment back as a priority, which will create jobs. London will always be a unique place. It's a melting pot of cultures. And that's something that's special about London. We're not celebrating it. People feel safe here because they can culturally express themselves, but we've gone backwards somewhere. We've gone wrong somewhere. We don't have the people being represented anymore.
I think that's, and very frankly, I think, Farah, that's very much speaking to what you said earlier as to what the city needs. The city needs a voice. They need to feel like they're being listened to. They need to feel like they're not being shunted between two political parties. They need to know that the political parties are not going to listen and acquiesce to the party whips, that they will actually go down, get out of their comfortable leather chairs on their pulpits and come down onto the ground and speak to people and not pay lip service. But maybe that's not their best. Maybe that's not best done by them. Maybe it needs an independent. Maybe it needs somebody who hasn't got that fixed agenda. What would your message be to the mainstream political parties as to why they need to wake up and listen and allow independent, good standing citizens like yourself a chance to take this all-important pivotal role?
The fact is, they will never listen. They aren't designed to listen. They will always be in that argumentative state with each other, and they will not want anyone else to come in because they're too busy amongst themselves. But we, the people, have the vote. We have the power. The political parties don't have power. The people have the power. And we can use that vote to make the change, to bring in independence, to correct the political parties, to let them have a warning that things are changing and times are changing. People will not sit there silently anymore.
Right.
If we look at the last elections in 2016, almost 3.6 million people did not vote. What a waste. Completely. Let's use the power that we have and send a message to the political parties.
If you had the chance, and if this goes your way, what will be the first 3 things that will be top of your agenda for London?
Definitely, I want to restructure City Hall. Unfortunately, there's so much corruption in there. There's been so many fake departments, and there's been people hired who the current mayor's mates and friends on salaries which just, they're called pen pushers. I want to get rid of that, because it needs to be lean. It needs to have the right people working there. We cannot let taxpayers' money be spent for corruption purposes. So I definitely want to make sure that's done. I want to put money back into people's pockets. I want to make sure when I go as the next mayor of London, I start introducing reforms where we give council tax breaks, but also 100 days free travel on public transport. We need to start bringing back our economy. So we need to give people the encouragement to get back out there. That's very important. Free is not enough. I can really go on here. I think I'm actually campaigning quite hard with Boris right now, our Prime Minister. Last week, I launched a campaign targeted directly at Boris Johnson to actually start introducing testing to reopen the economy. And let's say he listened, because on Monday he announced that's what he'll be doing, but he's doing it the wrong way. He wants to do it through lateral and rapid tests, which only has around 55% accuracy and only measures high levels. With PCR testing, we can actually reopen the economy safely because it tests low levels and it gives 99% accuracy. And I've introduced a technology that will give you results back within 40 minutes. So it's about reopening the economy safely, so we do not keep going in and out of lockdowns. That's not what we want to see. I want to reignite London, bring back investment. There's a plan I have worked called City to City, which is working with cities all over the world, focusing on a Commonwealth nations, where we can actually trade between cities and bring back investments. And Tech London, I'm going to make sure we establish Tech London, which will be the largest tech city in the world, obviously outside Silicon Valley, but that's not a city. So Tech London will lead the way of the future generations and bring the greatest minds to our city.
That's phenomenal. I mean, those are ambitious plans. Obviously, they'll require funding, but of course, I know, and time is limited on these sessions, but I know that you have a strong team behind you who are helping you to build that policy, to look at the avenues and angles that can, and the moving parts that need to obviously naturally be done in order to inject that money to welcome back companies and wake up and reignite those firms that have been falling. And I take it, of course, and I'm going to ask you straight, small businesses, what's your stance on small businesses and seeing them succeed? Which is
I'm all for small businesses, and that's why I have also announced any startup will get free office space for the first 6 months. We need to empower the small businesses. The UK has one of the highest rates of failure for startups, so we need to make sure startup businesses will have free office space, but we will also give them, I call them business incubators, give them the knowledge that they need to help them succeed. Also, when I plan to introduce trade delegations with City to City, the business tunnels, I'm actually going to get the startups involved, because what now our government and the mayor's office do, they go to the larger corporations who are well established. I want us to focus on the small businesses, the startups, and give them a platform for more expertise and experience to, advance their products.
That's noble stuff. I mean, as a small business myself, although I work globally and have client base globally, I'm very acutely aware about the support, or sometimes the lack of support, that we feel that we're getting or not getting from the government. And yes, they're doing furlough. Yes, they're doing these things. But actually on the ground level, when we have mayors who are punitively charging people with congestion charges, more congestion charges, other kinds of taxes, it becomes really hard for small businesses to survive, let alone individuals who are also suffering just for driving, into their own capital.
One of the first things I will be doing, you brought up congestion charge. I'm going to bring it back to £12 Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But I'm also going to introduce a short stay tariff, because like you said, lots of businesses pop in and out. It could be for deliveries or things, and they shouldn't be penalized and have to pay a full day when they literally need to come in and out. So definitely I will be making those changes with congestion charge. It's not acceptable what's going on.
Good. And what's going to happen to low traffic neighborhoods if you get in office?
I am getting rid of them. They are social divide. They're not acceptable. Residents need to lead the way. They are the ones who are affected. So I'm going to make sure that that dialogue is headed by the communities, not the councils dictating to them. It was an idea they presented, but they didn't present it, did they? They just went ahead
No,
and
they
took
just
advantage of the
snuck it in.
lockdown.
Took advantage, snuck it in.
And then said, deal with it. No, these problems must stop, because now you're going to have a mayor that's watching and that's interested and cares about what's going on. That's the difference.
You know what? And you've hit the nail on the head. It's about care. And obviously, as a well-being and leadership coach and consultant, and that's kind of my bread and butter, to help people with their well-being, teams, individuals, organizations, and help them with their leadership. What key tips would you like to offer viewers to help them with their personal care, with their sanity, with their health at these difficult times?
I think if anything, we've all learned talking is so important. Do not go through this alone. You do not need to be alone. Talk to people. It's more important than ever that we open up. Where we used to be maybe guarded, but now's the time to open up and seek out help, whether it's from family, whether it's from friends, or from strangers even. There's people there who are ready and standing by. Part of my COVID recovery plan, I will be introducing free counselling, online counselling for anyone that needs it, that's been affected by the pandemic. And it's so easy to do. Why are we not doing it? Unfortunately, suicides have gone up. We need to tackle that. We need to tackle mental well-being. So that's why I plan to introduce initiatives to tackle that. Free centers where people can go and just relax, talk to people, or do yoga, do things. But we need to have this accessible and free, because people are suffering and they should no longer suffer silently.
That's such wise words. Let's face it, the heart of any economy, people say, is businesses. It's not. Actually, the heart of any economy is the people that run and work in those businesses. When we work at that level and offer that well-being care, that self-care, that well-being stuff, and it's a message that I'm constantly driving and pushing for, and this in our dealings together, it's a message that I'm very, very passionate about, to ensure that the well-being, mental health, and personal resilience of individuals is paramount. Because when you get that right, then you have a strong organization or a small business, and you have a strong family unit, you have a stronger community, because people feel that their health is being cared for here as well as here. And I think that's such an important and reassuring message coming back from yourself, that you will place health and well-being high on that agenda, along with removing the insanity or insanely installed decisions like low traffic neighborhoods and other things that are hastily delivered. Just even removing those things, clearing some of these things, shows empathy, it shows caring, it shows that you care about people's stress levels, and those will start bringing it down, I think. And instituting this will make London really start to ignite again. So I can see a lot of promise in what you're saying. So I want to end though with a little bit of a personal flavor, if I may.
Of course.
Because I'm going to ask you some questions. You didn't know any of these questions anyway, but I'm going to ask you a few just final rapid fire questions, just for people to get a flavor of who you are. All right, first question. First question. If you were a superhero, and you can have any superpower that you wanted, what would that be, and what would you do with it?
Wow, good question. Well, I would love to be like Wonder Woman, because she just helps people. And that's what I think for me a superpower would be. Use it to help people, to make that sacrifice for others. I proudly say I live to serve. I live to serve others. And that's something with superpowers, I would love to continue to do that.
That's a beautiful answer. Let me ask you another thing. If you were on a desert island and you were stuck with not much to do and you're losing your mind, what book or books and what perhaps music would keep you going and inspire you to make it through that ordeal?
Well, my number one book, which I love, I have to say, is the Bible, because it's filled with so many incredible stories, really incredible things, knowledge, so much So I've learned a lot from the Bible. I'd definitely say that is my favorite book. Music, wow. I love so much music, all different types of music. So that would be a hard one to narrow it, but I would probably say it would have to be probably house music, just to keep the party going in my head
Keep
by
the party
myself.
going, eh? Keep it rocking.
Keep it rocking.
I love it. I love it. Okay, you're such a good sport. Okay, one more. What would the Farah of today, with 20 plus years of commercial business experience, decades of living in London, helping people along the way, having made your own mistakes and then learning and then growing, rising up the ladder towards becoming a mayor of London, what would the Farah of today say to the Farah of 20 years ago? What advice would she give her?
I would tell her to continue as she's doing, do not stop, continue to believe in herself and reach for the stars. And I never look back at regrets, because everything has got me to where I am. And I am proud to be where I am, because I am not arrogant. I'm humble enough to listen to others and understand how things, I could have done things differently or things, but everything's got me to where I am. I am where I'm supposed to be. So I would definitely just tell her to keep going. And I tell anyone, don't ever give up, keep going, dream.
The power of dreams.
I think it's important. We're in a society where we just see the ceiling, and I want people to understand there's more beyond that ceiling, and they can achieve anything that they want in life, but they need to be the ones that take that first step.
Right. That's powerful. It's got to start with self-leadership and self-accountability. What a powerful note on that.
And something else, never live your life based on what people think of you. The power's within you. So don't live your life trying to meet expectations of what others want from you, where they see you. Live your life with what you're capable of. Don't stop there.
I think that's such a powerful tool. It's something that obviously, from a coaching perspective, we as coaches always encourage people to embrace their authenticity and live life on their terms. By all means, listen to people's opinions, but make your own and then carve your own way. It's the importance of self-leadership. It's about accountability and responsibility. And I think that's something that's been in short supply. Having lived in London myself for nearly 50 years, I've seen those qualities being replaced by a snowflake generation of people who expect stuff on a plate. It's not that way. People need to work hard, and that's what London's been built on. Hard-working people who've sacrificed, like you have, like I have, like people we know have, in order to make it the great capital that it needs to be and it deserves to be once again.
We need to empower each other, and that's so important. And I think I'm seeing a lot more of that. People are empowering each other more. I think definitely through the pandemic, people want to help each other more as well. Many people have come out starting volunteering for the first time, which I definitely encourage. So it's good to see there have been some positives from the pandemic, and I just hope that those changes stay with us.
Yeah, I've got a good feeling that they should do, especially with the right kind of leadership here to take us in the direction. So Farah, tell us, where can people follow you? What's the big action that we need to take?
Well, you could firstly, my website, if you obviously want to see more about the campaign, what I'm doing, which is votefarah.london. I'm very active on Instagram, which is Miss Farah London. So a lot of everything I do is always on Instagram. Of course, I'm on Twitter as well, Miss Farah London. But definitely, if you want to see more engagement, what I'm doing, what's going on, go to my Instagram. You'll really be able to get involved with the campaign. And one thing which is very important to me is I love to listen to people. I'm always here. And you can send me a message on Twitter or Instagram. I will reply.
The real Miss Farah London, folks. It is the real Miss Farah London.
I will reply, and we can have a call. We can meet. I'm here to listen to you. So definitely, if you want to get in touch, reach out. Let's talk.
I couldn't have said it better. I have living proof of that. You were here, just a month or two ago in Harrow, and you've been around the capital visiting people and actually listening, not just speaking. But you've really used that 2-to-1 ratio of listening to speaking. That's the special thing about you, I think, from my experience, my observations. So I know that people will warm to what you're doing. Folks, I want to thank all of you for tuning in, for staying and do show your support. If you're moved, reach out to Farah as she has kindly offered, and just make your voices known. Ultimately, whether it's Farah or whether it's anyone else, one thing, don't sit at home. Don't not vote. It's your voice and it's your vote. And it's our capital to lose or win. It's on us. Everybody take a stance, make a stand. If you've liked this, get in touch with myself as well. I'm on LinkedIn, Prash K, the Wellbeing Expert. You can go find me there. And do check out the podcast if some of these topics around well-being, self-care, and nurturing ourselves so we can be better people in our families and our businesses. Check out the podcast, Urban Spirituality, on Facebook, on iTunes, Spotify, all your favorite channels. Go look it up, Urban Spirituality with myself, Prash K. Anything else that we can do to help you empower your life, reach out to Farah and myself. We'll be more than happy to help you. Farah, thank you for taking the time out with so little time left to the big voting time. It's such a pleasure to have you as always.
Prash, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
It's a joy. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.